Bring me someone smarter. The billionaire yells until the waitress solves his problem instantly. The grand ballroom of the Meridian Hotel in Manhattan had never seen a more dangerous silence. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small moments to change lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories. Also, tell us in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? It was the annual gala of Hartwell Industries, attended by senators, hedge fund managers, and old money families who controlled half the city's skyline. Crystal chandeliers threw golden light across $500 dinner plates, and every conversation was a quiet negotiation worth millions. At the center of it all sat Richard Hartwell, 62 years old, self-made billionaire, and a man who had never once in his life been told he was wrong. He wore his arrogance like a tailored suit, perfectly fitted, expensive and impossible to ignore. His voice alone could silence a boardroom. His glare had made grown men cry in elevators. And tonight, for reasons no one would fully understand until later, he had decided to destroy a waitress named Clara Mills. Clara was 26, soft-spoken, and had been working the Meridian for 3 years to fund her younger brother's medical treatment. She was the kind of person who apologized when someone else bumped into her, the kind who smiled at strangers in the subway, the kind who never made enemies, because she never stayed long enough in anyone's attention to matter. That was about to change forever. It began when Clara accidentally spilled a small amount of water near Hartwell's table. Not on him, not on his food, but on the marble floor beside his chair. It was nothing. Any reasonable person would have waved it away. Richard Hartwell was not a reasonable person. He stood up slowly, the way powerful men do when they want everyone to notice, and he pointed at Clara with one thick finger. "You," he said, loud enough for the entire room to hear. "You stupid, clumsy nobody. Do you have any idea who I am?" Clara opened her mouth to apologize, but he wasn't finished. He reached into his jacket, pulled out a platinum money clip and threw it at her feet. "Pick that up," he said. "Go on. A thief like you must be used to picking up things that don't belong to her." The room went very still. Clara bent down slowly, and as she straightened, her elbow caught the edge of a nearby tray. A glass tipped. The rim struck her lip. Blood appeared, just a thin line, but blood nonetheless. She pressed her fingers to her mouth and looked at the red on her fingertips with a kind of quiet disbelief. Hartwell laughed, an actual laugh. "Someone bring me someone smarter," he announced to the room, "because clearly the staff here is unemployable." That was the moment. Not the water! Not the money clip. Not even the blood. It was that laugh, the satisfied, bottomless cruelty of a man who had never once faced a consequence, that made something shift behind Clara's eyes. She reached into the small pocket of her uniform, pulled out her phone and made a call. The room watched. No one stopped her because no one knew what to do. It lasted 40 seconds. She said 3 words that mattered, a name, a request, and thank you. She hung up. She looked at Hartwell calmly. "Your company's primary acquisition deal," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "The one closing Tuesday, the Nolan Group contract. It's over." Hartwell stared at her. "Excuse me?" "My uncle is Gerald Nolan," Clara said simply. She didn't say it like a weapon. She said it like a fact that had always been true and always would be. Gerald Nolan was the Nolan Group. The Nolan Group was the single largest contract in Hartwell Industries' 40-year history, a deal that accounted for 31% of the company's projected revenue for the next decade, a deal that analysts had called Hartwell's greatest coup. By Monday morning it was withdrawn. By Wednesday, 3 board members had resigned. By the following Friday, Hartwell Industries' stock had dropped 64%. Investigations that had been quietly shelved for years were suddenly reopened. Partners who had smiled at Richard for decades stopped returning calls. The man who had never faced a consequence faced all of them at once. And they arrived not with drama or shouting, but with the quiet efficiency of a woman who had simply made one phone call. Clara Mills never went back to the Meridian. She didn't need to. Her brother got his treatment. She went back to school. And Richard Hartwell learned, too late. As bullies always do, that power rarely announces itself, that cruelty always finds its mirror, and that the most dangerous person in any room is almost never the loudest one. If this story moved you, please like, share and subscribe to our channel, Kindness True Stories, where every story proves that goodness, no matter how quietly it stands, always wins in the end.